I grew up hearing that my paternal grandfather, Naojiro Hirano, was interned for 4 years. I think my first impression was, their whole experience was truly unjustified. Yes, it was an awful experience. And, he kind of protected us from those stories. But we also learned the spirit of shikata ga nai, which is accepting fate and saying, what happened, happened, it cannot be helped. And I was only 9 years old, but one of the things I do remember him telling us, that was a 4-year college education for himself. He took classes in the internment camps because all of those who were taken from Hawaii were well-educated people. They were editors, they were businessmen, they were school teachers, they were priests. So they were quite a select group. And they decided that they were going to take advantage of this opportunity and create some sort of positive experience. And so they started to teach each other, right? My grandfather had written on one of his journals all of the classes. And I'm not sure if these are the classes he took or were just available, but many of them were English classes, English composition, business English, even conversational English. Because, he had a business. He felt that he could learn about bookkeeping, accounting. And because he also had a farm in the back, he also took horticulture classes. But I also know that there were Spanish classes and other sorts of classes like that, where all of these men pretty much taught each other. I can imagine them sitting together at night and having these deep discussions about how they were treated. I truly believe that now that was part of his education too. Now that I understand who was interned with him, what they experienced, I now know why. I think I know why. He said it was a 4-year college education for himself, which made me respect my grandfather even more. He was transported from one internment camp to another internment camp, and they had to ride those steam engines from Montana to Santa Fe. And I know he was at Fort Livingston and at Fort Sill. And apparently they were not supposed to look outside. They had their curtains closed. And so the guards, they were instructed that they were not supposed to look outside. But my grandfather, being the sort of rascal he is, when no one was around, he did peek out and he would see all of the grandeur of America with all of those oil pumps going, with all of the fields, the wheat fields. At that point, he learned what a rich, huge, prosperous country this America was. And I don't know if this is true or not, but someone told me that's when he knew America would win the war. There was no way Japan, with very little resources, could be victorious against such a grand, prosperous nation as America. You value relationships because you were the recipient of something good and you feel that you need to return it. This is why it was so hard for the Japanese to answer the question, where does your loyalty lie? For all of them, of course, they were born and raised in Japan, and of course they have ties there. They're grateful for their life there, their parents who raised them, but they moved here and they're also grateful for what they received here. Having this life in America, the freedom, the independence, which I know my grandfather loved. And so they had this feeling of gratitude for that too. So that really tore them apart when they were asked that question. And I think the way in which the Japanese issei handled the internment really shows the Japanese spirit. And they were able to endure that 4 years because of how they grew up, what they were taught, what was instilled in them. The Japanese spirit, Nihon no kokoro, which is why I have to say that my grandfather is the person I love most and respect the most. I want my grandfather to be remembered just the way I shared.